Evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 6 of the Clutch Kickers Group 3 Racing League. We're here tonight at Laguna Seca for 30 laps of nighttime racing around this iconic track. We'll go through the qualifying order before we start the race. We've got Velokor, who's qualified in P1, followed by Huuhaa in P2 in the Castrol Supra, followed by Braxton in P3, who's had a fantastic result this week. He's normally more of a mid to backfield runner, so it's fantastic to see him up the grid order here. He's definitely been putting in a lot of practice and a lot of work on improving and getting better at his driving techniques, and it's really starting to show. So fantastic job, Braxton. Well done, mate. He is followed by Rudsy in the Volkswagen in P4, followed by one of our newer guys, CC21, who had his first race with us at Monza last week and ended up finishing in P3, I believe it was. So great job to him. It's good to see you back, mate. Toe Cutter in P6, who is driving the Lexus this week. So I think he's actually the first person to be running the Lexus in the league. So that's fantastic to see. Followed by Vital Philly in P7 in the new BRZ. Kiwi in Oz in P8 in the Porsche 911. John Citizen in P9, also running the new BRZ. Peteman 77 in P10. And Aaron Thomson in P11, who unfortunately had some issues with joining the lobby and had his qualifying lap deleted, so he has unfortunately had to start from the back of the grid. But without further ado, that is our qualifying order, so let's get started in the race. Countdown now. And they're away. Velokor and Huuhaa and Braxton all seem to get away relatively well. Huuhaa's got the run on Velokor down the inside line into turn 1. And it looks like there's been an accident at the back of the grid. Aaron and John Citizen seem to have come together, and both of them have ended up sideways. That is quite unfortunate. They'll definitely have to investigate that in the post-race investigation. That has allowed pretty much the rest of the grid to really gap the both of them, which is unfortunate. Aaron has actually managed to get in position out of that, but he is on the back foot now. Which is quite unfortunate. He will definitely be pushing hard to try and close the gap between himself and Vital Philly, who is currently in P9, who seems to have had a relatively slow start as well. He's got quite the gap between himself and Peteman, who is in P8. But let's go back to the front of the grid and see what's happened at the start here. So Velokor's managed to overtake Huuhaa out of turn 1. It looks like Huuhaa's had a really bad exit out of turn 1 as well. He's ended up down in P4, giving Rudsy and Braxton an opportunity to overtake him. He does have CC21 hot on his tail right now as they come through the corkscrew here. And it looks like Braxton gets a little bit sideways there, but manages to keep it together. He does take the inside line, defending the inside for Rudsy, which is going to allow him to keep P2 there. As we can see, a fantastic battle here for us, all the way down from 2nd to 7th, it looks like, all really close. Velokor has managed to give himself a bit of a lead. It's looking like anywhere between 2 to 3 seconds. So, as is tradition, a bit of a tradition with him, he does manage to allow the rest of the grid to sort of fight it out while he takes advantage of that in P1 and gives himself a bit of breathing space, which is awesome to see. Velokor does hold the fastest lap of the race now, which is a 1:27.8. That is not an accurate representation of what I think will be the pace of the race, obviously. That is just the starting lap of the race. So I imagine that general race pace will probably be around 1:21 to 1:22 for the faster guys, I would say. And we'll take a look at the rest of the grid now. So we've got Velokor in P1. Braxton doing a fantastic job in P2. He's having a superb race right now. Rudsy in P3, followed by Huuhaa in P4 as they come through the corkscrew now. And we'll watch Huuhaa's line through here, actually. And gets a little bit sideways there. That is going to jeopardize his exit from the corner. It'd be interesting to see if he can stay ahead of CC here. He does manage to do it, so I'd say CC's probably backed off a little there in the corner exit in order to avoid any sort of impact. But yeah, CC back in 5th position, Toe Cutter in 6th position. This battle for 2nd all the way through to 5th is absolutely awesome. I hope this keeps up for the rest of the race. Braxton does seem to have gapped Rudsy just a little bit, giving himself a bit of breathing room, and it does actually look like he has also closed the gap to Velokor a little, which is awesome to see. So if he can keep up this pace, we may see a battle for 1st and 2nd between Velokor and Braxton, which would be awesome. Generally, the pace difference between those two guys is quite distinct, so Braxton is really showing a significant improvement in this race, which is fantastic to see. He is one of our younger drivers, so definitely showing massive amounts of potential in this race. And as I said, he is running the new Subaru BRZ. I was going to say Toyota BRZ. That is not correct. Subaru BRZ. And he has that up a custom livery for that. So as you can see, he's got the classic clutch kickers decals all over the car, followed by the sponsor for clutch kickers as well, Brisbane Caliber Painting. If you guys have a car and you want to get your calipers painted, then hit up Brisbane Caliber Painting and they'll be happy to help you out. And it looks like Velokor's had a really terrible exit out of the corkscrew there, which has allowed Braxton to significantly close that gap. So we genuinely do have a battle for first place on our hands right now. As they come into the final corner onto the home straight, if Braxton can get a good exit here and stay in the slipstream, he may be able to get Velokor into turn 1, but it looks like Velokor has actually got a significantly better exit from the corner. So I'd say Velokor's definitely feeling the pressure right now from Braxton. And Braxton actually set the fastest lap of the race, or has the fastest lap of the race right now with a 122.7. Velokor hugs the inside of turn 1 there quite tight, allowing himself to get a relatively good exit. I did notice Braxton actually takes a bit more of a wide line through turn 1. As Rudsy puts the rear wheels on the dirt there, doesn't jeopardize him too much. He's still able to stay in 3rd position, but he's definitely feeling the pressure from Huuhaa right now. Huuhaa a little on the back foot right now. Had a bit of a bad start. He actually had a relatively good start. He had a good run on Velokor and was in P1 in the first corner, but I'd say he's just made a bit of a mistake, as he has again there. He's gone a little wide, ended up in the dirt there, which is very unfortunate. That has allowed CC21 to overtake him and capitalize on that mistake. And Huuhaa, oh wow, that is devastating to see, mate. Absolutely devastating. He's got his work cut out for him now. That would have cost him a couple of seconds. And Kiwi and Oz down in P6 would be smelling that P5 position right now and absolutely gunning for it. We've got Toe Cutter in P7. Nice consistent laps, just keeping it clean. We've actually got P6, 7 and 8 all really close right now. And Aaron has managed to close the gap very, very significantly. So he's keeping it clean, pushing hard, trying to make up for lost ground right now. And doing a really good job of it too. He's hot on the tail of Toe Cutter for P7 right now. Toe Cutter would see him in his rearview mirror and definitely feeling the pressure. Aaron is typically one of our faster guys. It is unfortunate that his quali lap did get deleted and he had to start from the back, which has also contributed to the accident that he had at the start of the race. But oh well, I'm sure he shrugged that off now and has got his head down, focused, just trying to work his way through the grid and get the best result he can. Huuhaa up in P5, trying to make up for lost ground, and it looks like 1st through to 4th are all relatively close as well. There's only maybe 2 to 3 seconds separating them, so it's nice to see the grid so condensed. 5 laps into the race, Velokor completes a relatively clean lap there, mistake-free. Looks like he may be learning from his mistakes in the corkscrew, and he actually did set the fastest lap of the race for about a second there, and then Braxton stole it back off him. So Braxton currently with the fastest lap of the race at 122.4. I'd love to know what Braxton's thinking right now. He's not typically in a position where he's chasing down pole position. But I'd love to know what his mindset is right now, how he's coping with the pressure, and he seems to be doing a fantastic job actually, keeping it nice and clean. But it looks like Velokor has giving himself a little bit of breathing room between himself and Braxton right now. It does look to be about a 1.5 to 2 second gap between them. Carrying a lot of speed through that corner. It's great to see. Probably could have used a little bit more of the apex there, but he could just be playing it a little safe as we watch him go through the corkscrew here. Much cleaner. You can see the car start to lift a little as he carries a lot of speed down through the exit of the corkscrew there. You can see the car lift as the corner dips down. So that could be where he's having the issue. I'd say maybe he's just got his suspension a little too stiff or his ride height a little too low or something like that. But that could be That could be what was causing the issues that he was having in the prior laps. Looks like Braxton did lose the tail end of the car just slightly on the exit of that corner back there. And Velokor has just set the fastest lap with a 122.0. So it's really starting to pick up the pace now. Nearly into the 121s. Rudsy back in P3, just keeping it clean. It's only about a second behind Braxton, so I think at this stage of the race, with how condensed the field is, if any of these top 3 guys make any sort of mistake that puts them into the gravel, that's going to give the, we've got CC and Huuhaa, that's going to give both of them the opportunity to really capitalise on that. And it looks like Aaron is up to P6, so he's overtaken Toe Cutter and Kiwi in the last lap. He's doing a fantastic job. Great job by Aaron. And as you can see, he is running that new livery that we were talking about in the last race in Spa. Except instead of applying it to the WRX, he's actually decided to run the new BRZ this race, which is, as you can see, there's about 3 or 4 guys in the grid running that car, so it is a very popular choice. And I don't blame them. I cut a couple of laps in the BRZ myself, and yeah, it is a fantastic car, great car. I almost considered using it myself. But yeah, as you can see, he's put a lot of effort into that livery. Again, running the clutch kickers decals with the Brisbane Caliper painting sponsor. There is potential that Clutch Kickers Racing Team will be maybe picking up another sponsor soon. I won't give too much away, but if that does happen, then I imagine that you will likely see a lot of these guys also running that sponsor as well. All I will say is that it is a sim racing company. And if we are able to pick up that sponsor, that would be absolutely phenomenal. And a real step forward for the team and the future of our brand. We've got Kiwi and Oz back in P7, followed by Toe Cutter in P8. That looks like Toe Cutter might have actually made a fairly significant mistake. He's quite a ways behind both Kiwi and Aaron now, so I'd say he's unfortunately made a pretty drastic mistake. But we'll go back to the front of the grid now and see what's happening up here. And Velokor has completely spun in the corkscrew. Thankfully the ghosting there allows Braxton to get through contact free. But judging by how he's been taking that corkscrew, he's definitely carrying too much speed through there. So I'd say that mistake was inevitable. Unless he can learn to sort of slow the car down and keep it controlled through the corkscrew, I imagine he may potentially make that mistake again. He's really got to get that car under control. He is on the tail of Rudsy now. He's gone from first down to P3, and that's what I was saying before. All it's going to take is one mistake. With how condensed the grid is right now, one mistake is all it's going to take for the order of the grid to really shuffle up. As Velokor makes a lunge down the inside of Rudsy here into turn 1. A little bit of rubbing, but that's okay. He does get the move done. Rudsy gives him plenty of room. And that's a fantastic overtake, really clean. Rudsy ends up in the dirt. Wasn't forced there. I'd say he's probably just run the corner a little wide. But Velokor put under pressure for the first time in a long time, as Braxton has managed to give himself about a 2-second gap. And what do you know, guys? Braxton Thomson, P1, leading a Clutch Kickers Racing race for the first time ever. This just goes to show the significant improvements he's made in the 6 weeks of racing with Clutch Kickers. That's awesome, mate. Well done. I'm so proud of you. So glad to see that. He comes through the corkscrew now, gets the car slowed really nicely, hugs the inside, gives himself a fantastic exit. Great job. Velokor up into P2 now, giving himself a bit of a gap to Rudsy actually. And as you can see, Velokor taking a little less speed through the corkscrew that time. But yeah, he will be pushing real hard. Velokor still holds the fastest lap right now. Let's go for an onboard lap with Velokor and just listen to the raw power of that portion. See what kind of lines he takes. As you can see, he's pretty early on the brakes into turn 1, down into first. He'll hug the inside here, let the car swing out a little, get on the power early. And we've actually got a yellow flag in sector 1, so I'm not sure what's happened. It looks like Braxton actually made a mistake there. So we've got, I think that's Vital Philly off the track. Yeah, Vital Philly, looks like he may be potentially having some connection issues, which is unfortunate. But yeah, Braxton did make a mistake in the first couple of corners of turn 1 there, which has given giving Velokor an opportunity to close that gap that Braxton had over him that last lap. As you can see, both Braxton and Velokor carrying a lot of speed through that corner. That's a great line. Nice and early on the brakes here. Yeah, definitely carrying a lot less speed through the corkscrew, playing it safe there, which is definitely the way to go. As you can see, it is a relatively short track, Laguna Seca. As we can see, averaging around 121, 122. And it looks like Huuhaa has actually stolen the fastest lap of the race in that last lap with 121.8. So as we can see, the guys are into the 121s now, which is great. That's absolutely blistering pace. Velokor has closed the gap to Braxton somewhat significantly in that last lap. So I'd say Braxton will definitely be feeling the pressure now as Velokor breathes down his neck. It'll be interesting to see how Braxton handles this pressure. He's not typically one to be leading a race like this, so. And as you can see, Velokor has got significantly more pace through Sector 1 there, and he is right on the tail end of Braxton coming into the Sector 2. And there it is. The unfortunate mistake by Braxton, runs wide through that corner, does end up spinning the car quite significantly, and that gives Velokor the opportunity he wanted in order to take P1. That's a very significant mistake by Braxton there as well. Velokor has actually already gapped him probably about 5 or 6 seconds now. Again, unfortunately the deltas don't show in the replay, which is very unfortunate. We've got Huuhaa in P3 now, right on the back of Braxton, so very unfortunate mistake by Braxton. And it looks like Pete Man's actually being lapped already in this race, unfortunately. Lap 11 and already 1 lap down on the race leaders. As you can see, Huuhaa making a move on the inside of Braxton here, coming down into turn 1. He's already ahead before the corner, so pretty easy overtake. I'd say Huuhaa did a much better exit out of the last corner. A great run along the straight there, and he's moved up into P2. And Braxton unfortunately puts the car in the gravel just slightly there. Doesn't jeopardize him too much, but and Huuhaa does the same actually. So these guys are definitely pushing each other right now, which is causing them to make a few little mistakes. And CC21 back in P4, having a great race, just keeping it nice and clean. Rudsy down in P5. He's unfortunately lost a couple of positions over the last couple of laps, but again, we've seen a few of the faster guys now just making a couple of mistakes here and there. So even these midfield guys, if they can just keep it clean and capitalize on the mistakes that these guys are making, although they may not be running as fast lap times, they could definitely capitalize on these mistakes. And Aaron worked his way up into P6. He's doing a fantastic job. He's gone from what was it, P10 all the way up into P6. So great work, Meg, keeping it clean, getting his head down, just getting the work done. Awesome to see. Toe cutter in P7 has run wide on the entry up into the corkscrew, which is unfortunate. And Kiwi and Oz has done the same. It looks like that corner's catching out almost everyone in the race at this point. So it's obviously a very tricky corner. It's one of those corners that looks like you can carry a lot more speed through it than what you actually can. It's very, very misleading. And oh no, Kiwi gone very deep into the corkscrew there as well. So looks like he's struggling a little at the moment, but hopefully he can get it together, get that car under control, and work his way back. It is a very significant gap between P7 and P8, which is Toe Cutter and Kiwi. So, and about an equal gap down into P9, which is John Citizen, who's definitely on a recovery drive at the moment. A very, very unfortunate start to his race. Again, not entirely sure what happened. We'll definitely have to have a look at that one. But he's absolutely on the back foot, and it looks like we've actually lost Vital Philly again. As I said, he was off the side of the track a couple of laps ago. I think he was having a couple of connection issues, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, we've definitely lost him. And Pete Man and Aaron making a bit of contact there. I'm not entirely sure what that was about. P-Man does have the blue flag, so he should absolutely be getting out of the way. And it looks like he's going to do that now, actually. And he has. Probably should have slowed down a little more on the straight to give Aaron the cleaner pass through the corner, but it is what it is. Aaron is by, and it's the end of that chapter, I guess. But Aaron now up into P5, as we've got people making their pit stops now. Rudsy coming in relatively early on lap 13, so I imagine a lot of people in this race will be trying to fuel save out to at least lap 15 in order to make it a one-stop race. So it's interesting that Rudsy is pitting on lap 13. He could be potentially on a two-stop strategy here. But yeah, I do imagine that most of the grid will be on a one-stop. As Velokor's actually picked up a half a second penalty somewhere. I'd say he's probably he's maybe cut the corner going through the corkscrew. But with the gap he has at the moment, I'm sure he's not too worried. And Huuhaa's made his way up into P2 now, and CC has actually overtaken Braxton and he's up into P3. So it looks like Braxton has potentially made a couple of mistakes, which has cost him a bit of time and a couple of positions there. But he's actually not too far behind CC, so if he can keep it clean and maintain the pace that he had at the start of the race, there is potential that he could actually catch him. But yeah, CC is one of our newer guys, as I was saying, so he hasn't had a whole lot of screen time. Let's go for an onboard lap with CC21. I will mute my microphone and we'll, yeah, just watch how he gets around the track. Come to the end of the onboard lap with CC21 here. As you can see, nice, clean, consistent lines. He is pulling into the pit here, which is what I expected. A lot of the grid will be pitting from lap 15, maybe a little later. Looks like Velokor and Braxton are also in the pit as well. We can see Velokor pulling into his box here. Let's see what he does. He is opting for a change of tyres and a refuel, which is pretty standard. I expect that everyone will be changing their tyres this race. We've got Velokor, Braxton, CC21 and Aaron all in the pits at the end of lap 15 here. So it looks like they're going to be doing 15 lap stints for one-stop strategy. Huuhaa has opted to stay out actually, so I'd say that he's potentially fuel saving a little heavier than the other guys, but there's absolutely no way he can do this race on a zero stopper. Not a chance. So he will be pitting at some point. So don't be misled, he does have a fairly significant gap over the rest of the grid at the moment, due to the fact that a lot of them have pitted, but he will have to pit at some point, which will close that gap. As Velokor's out of the pits now. And looks like Huuhaa actually struggled to overtake Pete-Man there. Again, Pete-Man got the blue flags, mate. Not sure what you're doing, you got to get out of the way, buddy. You know, you can't be holding up the faster guys. And Huuhaa coming up on the rear of Rudsy now and potentially lapping Rudsy. Rudsy has just come out of the pits. But yeah, we do have a couple of other guys in the pits at the moment. We've got Toe Cutter, John and Aaron just coming out of the pits now. But yeah, we'll have a look at our grid order at the moment. So Huuhaa in P1, who hasn't pitted just yet. So realistically, when he does pit, unless he can stretch a gap out that is big enough to allow him to maintain P1, when he does pit, I imagine Velokor will be up into P1. But for now, it's Huuhaa in P1, Velokor in P2, Kiwi and Oz up into P3, which is interesting. So I'd say he probably hasn't pitted yet either. CC21 in P4, Braxton Thomson in P5, followed by Aaron Thomson in P6, Rudsy in P7, Toe Cutter down in P8, John Citizen in P9, exiting the pits now, and Pete Man in P10. So it looks like John's actually overtaken Pete, which is interesting to see. Pete's obviously really struggling this race, which is unfortunate, but that could be due to lack of practice. Maybe he just didn't get as much practice in as the rest of the guys. This is a very difficult and unforgiving track as well, so if you don't know it and you don't practice on it, then you're really going to struggle in the race. But it looks like Huuhaa is actually coming into the pits now, which will likely give Velokor the opportunity to retake P1. Let's stay with Velokor here and see if he's able to close the gap and regain P1. I'd say he very likely will. And it looks like Kiwi's also in the pits, so yeah, he hadn't pitted yet either, which is why he was showing so far up to grid order. But these pit stops will reset the grid order and give us an accurate representation of what the current positions of the race are. Velokor coming through the corkscrew there and still carrying a lot of speed. You can see his car getting airborne there, which is very interesting. Just holding on for dear life, I'd say, praying that the car doesn't lose control when it hits the ground again. As we are past the halfway point now, Huuhaa still holds the fastest lap of the race with the 121.8, and Velokor has retaken first place from Huuhaa, who is currently in the pits, which was to be expected. Be interesting to see if CC is able to retake or take second position from Huuhaa, which doesn't look like he's going to, unfortunately. Oh, I could be wrong, actually. No, he hasn't. We've got an epic battle here between Braxton and Aaron, a father and son battle. Let's watch this and see how it plays out. I imagine Aaron may potentially make a move down the inside here, and he's not going to go for it. He's a little too far back. It's a good thing to get back down, but Braxton does run wide, which gives Aaron the run down the inside of the corner, and he gets the job done. It's a fantastic pass by Aaron. And Braxton up the inside of this corner. Forces Aaron a little wide, but it is a clean overtake, and this is fantastic to see. Excellent, clean racing from the both of them. Both very evenly matched in the same car as well. Let's go on board with Aaron and see just how close he's able to get to the rear end of Braxton here. Oh, Braxton goes wide. That's the same point he went wide with the chase on Velokor as well. So it would appear that under the pressure, he just can't get the braking marker right for that corner, which does allow Aaron to move up into P4. And I tell you what an absolutely superb race he's had. What a superstar performance. Fantastic job. From the back of the grid, last place, P11, all the way up into P4. And we're only just past halfway point in the race as well. Really showing the talent he has behind the wheel. Superb race. But our podium sitters right now, as of lap 19 in the race, we have Velokor in P1, followed by Huuhaa in P2, and CC21 in P3. There's a fairly significant gap between the three of them. They're all sitting pretty comfortably in their positions right now. We've got Velokor, who's got probably about, I'd say about 10 seconds between himself and Huuhaa, and then there's about another maybe 15 seconds between Huuhaa and CC, and about another 10 seconds between CC and Aaron. So they all have a bit of breathing room at the moment. If they do make slight mistakes, it's not going to cost them too much. But it'll be interesting, very interesting to see if Aaron is able to close the gap to CC and secure himself a podium for this race. If he does manage to do that, I will be genuinely amazed. That'll be an incredible effort. As we've got Velokor heading down the home straight now. Looks like he's approaching one of the back markers. I think it was Toe Cutter. No, it's Kiwi and Oz, sorry. So he's approaching Kiwi and Oz, who is currently P8. So the front runners are beginning to lap a lot of the midfield guys now. And hopefully Velokor can keep it clean, mistake-free for the rest of the race. I'm sure that's what he'd be hoping for. And it looks like we've actually got a really, really good battle for P5 and P6 right now between Braxton and Rudsy. Rudsy hot on the tail of Braxton here. Let's watch this for a bit and see if Rudsy's able to get the move or if Braxton's able to pull away a little. Both running a little wide there through turn one. Could definitely use a little more of that apex. Following Braxton now, who again manages to put the tyres in the dirt there. He is taking a lot of these corners really deep, I found, which is forcing him to put the rear tyres in the dirt. It would actually be costing him very valuable hundredths of a second. So just little mistakes like that, I think, are costing him a few hundredths a lap at this point, I would say. And it looks like Velokor has taken the fastest lap of the race with a 121.7. So he's, you know, fresh tyres, full tank of fuel, definitely pushing the car to its limits now. As both Braxton and Rudsy come through the corkscrew, it looks like Braxton has extended the gap on Rudsy a little more this lap. And we'll have a look through the rest of the field. Toe cutter down in P7, keeping it nice and clean. That's a beautiful livery he's got running on that Lexus. The white and blue scheme. Very nice. Kiwi and Oz in the Porsche 911 RSR, which is a very popular car amongst the Group 3 leagues. Coming down through the corkscrew now. Very nice, very clean. John Citizen running in P9. And P-Man down in P10, who's a fair way behind pretty much everyone at this point. He's not had an amazing race, but it's all a learning experience, mate. So take notes and work on improving. And back on board with the race leader now, Velokor, who is also a current championship leader as well. I will be posting the championship standings in the description of this video. They will be the championship standings from post this race, so including the points given after this race. But yeah, as you can see, keeping it as clean as he can, whilst also maintaining as much pace as he can. You know, not jeopardizing his lap times too much. And Huuhaa has actually stolen the fastest lap again. So Huuhaa and Velokor both very equal on pace, pushing their cars to the absolute limit with a 121.712. So it's only marginally quicker than what Velokor's fastest lap was, but it is enough for now to secure him the extra 3 points. Apologies for that. But yeah, as of right now, Velokor will finish the race on 50 points. And second place normally gets 45 points, but with the extra 3 points for fastest lap, Huuhaa would give himself 48 points. So definitely not much of a gap between the two of them, as Huuhaa approaches the rear end of Kiwi and Oz now. And CC21 cruising comfortably back in third position. Got a lot of breathing room both in front and behind him right now. He'd just be cruising along. And I'm sure he'd love to finish this race with a podium result. This is his second race with us, and at the moment on track for a second podium. So 2 podiums out of 2 races would be a fantastic result. But yeah, CC21, a very welcome addition to the Clutch Kickers racing community. Although Aaron is not far behind CC21 at all. Only probably about 7 or 8 seconds behind him. And we've got Braxton running in P5, who has again managed to extend the gap between himself and Rudsy. So Rudsy was very close to Braxton at one point, but it looks like through just clean driving and consistent pace, Braxton has able to extend that gap by quite a lot at this point. Actually, he's probably about maybe 9 or 10 seconds ahead. So Braxton is pretty comfortably on pace for a P5 result at this point in the race. which I'm not sure if I think that would still be one of his best results in the race, but due to how what his position was at the start of the race, as we saw him go from P4 up into P2 on the first lap, and then taking P1 after a mistake from Velokor later in the race. To see him down in P5 now is, again, still one of his best results, but I'm sure he'd be a little bit disappointed in himself, considering the position he was in earlier in the race. And Rudsy's just had a nice sort of clean and consistent race the entire time. Hasn't been able to match the pace of the front runners, but definitely, you know, one of the faster mid runners for sure. And I think it's pretty safe to assume that after the last race we had in Spa, which that video is also up on the YouTube, so if you haven't watched that, I highly encourage you to go check it out. It was a fantastic race. But the last 30 lap race in Spa, which was in torrential rain, a lot of the drivers did struggle with traction and just you know, keeping the car on the road and keeping the car straight. So I imagine that, you know, going from those conditions at Spa to a race like this, I reckon a lot of the guys are, you know, much more comfortable behind the wheel of these cars. But Velokor stealing the fastest lap from Huuhaa yet again on that last lap with a 121.5. So these guys are absolutely pushing these cars to the limit. That sort of lap time around here in a Group 3 car, I'm not going to lie, that is quick. That is very, very quick. And again, in our league, none of our guys are using any assists. The only allowed assists are traction control and ABS. All of the braking indicators, racing lines, every other assist must be turned off. If you are found to be running any of those assists, you will be given penalties and potential DQs, as unfortunately we did have to disqualify one of our racers from the league about 2 weeks ago now due to breaching those rules and repeatedly running disallowed assists in the races after being given multiple warnings, which is really unfortunate to see, but rules are rules. They are there for a reason. Velokor now making his way around to the tail end of lap 25 now. And again, keeping it very, very clean. The gap between Velokor and Huuhaa at the moment, who are both running extremely similar pace, I'd say is probably around about 10 seconds at this stage, maybe a little more. Actually, yeah, probably would be a little more, probably closer to 15-20 seconds at this point. But again, the race isn't over yet. Velokor could potentially make a mistake, which will allow Huuhaa maybe an opportunity. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but anything can happen in racing. Not over until you see that checkered flag. And again, Huuhaa running CC21 running comfortably back in third position, and Aaron in fourth position, who has managed to close the gap to CC quite a lot. So I'd say that Aaron is, at this stage of the race, is probably running faster pace than what CC21 is, and he's definitely pushing hard. He's got 4 laps less in this race to catch him. He would be pushing the car to the limit right now. And that does unfortunately lead him to a slight mistake there. It doesn't cost him too much, but that is probably going to allow CC to extend the gap between the two of them by, I'd say, about 1 to 2 seconds. That mistake would have cost him. But when you're pushing as hard as what I can only imagine Aaron is pushing right now, you are prone to making these little mistakes. It's a risk and reward scenario. And Braxton's actually not far behind Aaron at all. He's probably only about 2 seconds behind Aaron at this point. So we potentially have a fantastic battle between 3rd, 4th and 5th on our hands, maybe in the next couple of laps here. But Braxton would be pushing very hard to catch Aaron. Aaron would be pushing very hard to catch CC21, and Huuhaa would be pushing very hard to catch Velokor. And it looks like Velokor's actually made a mistake in that last lap. I'd say he's probably spun again in the corkscrew, which has given Huuhaa an opportunity to significantly close that gap. There's only about 3 seconds, maybe even less than that, between the two of them right now. And it's all happening at the end of this race, ladies and gentlemen. As the top 5 runners really start to close in on each other, we could be on for a massive upset for Velokor at the end of this race. as Velokor approaches Rudsy here. Rudsy is a back marker in P7. Hopefully Rudsy just lets him by cleanly. And he is actually fighting him a little. He definitely had an opportunity to pull to the side there and let him pass, as he does there, which is fantastic to see. He didn't hold him up too much, but that has allowed Huuhaa to gain about maybe a second and a half on him. As Huuhaa approaches the back of Rudsy here as well. Gives him the flash to let him know he's there. And I'm not entirely sure why Rudsy's fighting this position. Again, he would have the blue flags waving. He definitely had plenty of opportunities to sort of move aside and let the faster guys by, but that's okay. We live and we learn. He didn't hold them up too much, so I don't imagine that will result in any sort of penalty. But again, there's about a 2-second gap between Velokor and Huuhaa now. And it looks like Aaron has managed to extend the gap to Braxton. But as we come to the end of this race now, we'll quickly go through the grid order. As we've got Velokor in P1, barely holding on, with Huuhaa hot on his tail in P2 as they both come through the corkscrew now. CC21 in P3, who's looking pretty comfortable, with a significant gap in front and behind him, so he's looking pretty good for a P3 finish here. Aaron in P4, followed by Braxton in P5, Toe Cutter in P6, who is about to get lapped. He's showing blue flags at the moment. Rudsy in P7, Kiwi and Oz in P8, John Citizen in P9, and Pete Man in P10. But let's go back to the front runners. We just crossed the line. We're on to lap 29. At the moment, Velokor does still hold the fastest lap with a 121.5. But again, Huuhaa very, very hot on his tail. And at this point, I think Velokor would be pushing to stay ahead, but also, you know, determined to keep it clean and make absolutely no mistakes. And it does look like Velokor is actually approaching another back marker here, so again, hopefully they get out of the way, don't hold him up too much. And it is Toe Cutter who actually pulls way over to the left there. It gives him plenty of room, which is fantastic to see. Let's see if he does the same thing for Huuhaa here. And he does. That's awesome. Well done, Toe Cutter. Great job, mate. As we come to the end of lap 29 now, we'll be starting the final lap of the race really soon. And this has been absolutely epic. What a race. Final lap, and there's less than 3 seconds between first and second. What a battle. Unreal. And Velokor sets the fastest lap of the race with the 121.3, but Huuhaa steals it from me with the 121.2. So as you can see, both of these guys absolutely smashing the cars, pushing them to the absolute limit. Velokor does not want to give up P1, and Huuhaa does not want to finish in P2. But both of them nearly into the 120s, which we haven't seen. We haven't seen this pace in any of the practicing or qualifying sessions. The fastest laps we'd seen in, I think, the qualifying was a 121.8. So as you can see, they're about half a second up and running about half a second up on their fastest pace. So these guys are absolutely so equally matched, equally skilled, which is so great to see. When you have these leagues, you want to try and have people that are equally skilled throughout the entire grid. You know, you don't want someone just running away with every single race and just, you know, stealing all the points. But this is fantastic. What a battle. Round of applause to both of these guys. Absolutely unreal. CC back in 21, sorry, back in third position, not in 21st. And Aaron again back in fourth, and again not a podium result, but round of applause for Aaron. Fantastic race from P11 up to P4, with the incident ending up sideways with his nose in a wall at the start of the race. I think it's pretty comfortable to say that if he didn't have the incident at the start of the race, I think he would have had a P3 result. But Velokor has crossed the line in P1, managed to keep it ahead of Huuhaa, only just. Huuhaa in P2, fantastic race by both of those guys. Toe Cutter and Rudsy have crossed the line in P6 and 7. And looks like CC coming around the last few bends now. He's going to finish the race in P3 with Aaron hot on his heels. Unfortunately, not enough laps in the race for Aaron to catch him, but again, I don't think Aaron's going to be too disappointed in that result. And CC has crossed the line now to secure himself third position, which again, second race of the league, second podium finish. Well done to CC. We've got Aaron in P4, Braxton in P5, who unfortunately did cost himself a couple of positions throughout the race. But again, that is still his best result of the season so far, so he can't be too disappointed with that. Toe Cutter in P6, Rudsy in P7, Kiwi in Oz in P8, and John Citizen is coming across the line now in P9. And Pete Man coming along the home straight now for P10. And there we go. That is your order, ladies and gentlemen. Our podium today, Velokor P1, Huuhaa P2, and CC 21. I hope you've all enjoyed this race. If you're wanting to keep up to date with the league, feel free to follow or subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get the notifications letting you know when the races are uploaded. Again, I'll put the championship standings in the description of this video. But congratulations Velokor, congratulations Huuhaa, congratulations CC on your podium finish, boys. Really good race. And yeah, next week will be 30 laps at, I think it's Deep Forest Raceway. So definitely tune in for that one. But until then, stay safe, take it easy, and we'll see you on track.